This podcast is brought to you by the School of Advanced Study, University of London. All of our podcasts are available from our website, www.sas.ac.uk.
First of all, thank you, Jill, for the text. I really enjoyed reading it. I think everyone around the table before felt the same. It is a very contemporary text. I particularly enjoyed it because it really forces us to reflect on social, legal issues, political issues that actually are very contemporary, considering what is actually happening at the moment in France in relations to debates about civil partnerships as well. The text, what I'm going to do is summarize first what the text is about, and then go on to some of the reflections that came out from the group discussion. The text presents is the story of a lesbian couple who are having a baby, and their announcement of the pregnancy to Cecile's parents, and it is about silences. It is about the position of each partner within this new family structure with the addition of a child, something that I think perhaps we assume, and that's something that comes from the text, that the arrival of a new member to a family doesn't destabilize traditional families, but it is also highly destabilizing to traditional families and to one's own identity. But it is about identities, it is about mothering, fathering, questioning of who's the mother, which role do grandparents play, and wider society, and how society itself forces us to think and articulate our identity. It does raise a number of issues. So there are two dialogues within the text that we read. The first one is Cecile's dialogue with her parents when she announces that she is pregnant. She's 2.5 months pregnant, and the announcement was met with shock by her parents, who are, we are told right at the beginning, the best parents in the world. And what we interpret that as being their accepting parents. They're proud of their daughter, and they don't judge their daughter because of her life choices. But they're shocked by her announcement. And the question then arises in relation to, so who's the father? Are you, and I'm going to have to quote this because it's quite brilliant, are you like those couples on TV who went to Belgium to conceive? And then it tells us something about the act of conception. It tells us about the role of the father and Cecile's father, so the grandfather to be, in this particular context is particularly interesting because he is the one who reacts immediately almost, and most negatively. Cecile's mother only starts to re-emerge as a voice towards the end of their dialogue, and that's also after Fanny, Cecile's partner, actually intercedes to highlight the kind of, or list rather, the choices they had available to conceive the child. But this first conversation is very much about Cecile's family. And then there is the second conversation, which is between Cecile and Fanny. And it is about their role in relation to their new family once the child is born. So Fanny asks, am I going to be a co-mother? Am I going to be a semi-mother? Because that's actually the question that Cecile's parents ask. So she's going to be the father? Is she in place of the father? And where is it that she's going to be placed in terms of the legal relationship Fanny is going to have with the child, because she's not the birth mother. So that's the text we read, and I think actually it throws out more questions, obviously, than it actually can or even tries to answer. For me, it's about silences. silences in terms of identities, but also silences in the conversations. Whose identity, whose voices do we really hear? The style, I thought it was, I think we all felt it was very strong because of this dialogue. You could actually almost see it as if it was on stage. And you can see the dialogue between Cecile and Fanny and Cecile's parents, but also between the two women once the parents were gone. What we did discuss is the centrality of the father in the dialogue with Cecile's parents, but also the absent father, the father that is not there. The very probing questions about, so who is the father? Is it anonymous? Why did you choose to go down this road? And it also, particularly in relation to Fanny, Cecile partners as fulfilling the father figure. So it does raise issues about co-parenting arrangements, and the way that we still understand traditional families and kinship relations. So the relationship of the grandparents with the baby. Is the grandfather's, one of the questions that we asked was, is the grandfather's reaction illustrative of broader concerns by men of being emasculated, of losing their position in society, in the family? But then what about new forms of families, new types of relationships? What is the impact in terms of the formal, the legal relationship of the partners with the baby? What happens throughout the text is in that in the first conversation with the parents, Fanny's and Cecile's relationship is explicitly compared to the traditional heterosexual family, the traditional heterosexual relationship, or heterosexual couples. But then also in the dialogue between Fanny and Cecile, they're also comparing themselves to traditional heterosexual couples. And in a way, the role of the grandmother we found within this dialogue, both during the conversation in the first half of the text, but also during their reflections of their conversation, serves to crystallize their position outside of what is traditionally perceived as normal, as a different form of family. So actually, it is there to implicitly consolidate or crystallize a hierarchical structure. So even the way that Fanny and Cecile talk about their relationship with the baby, the mother, the co-mother, the semi-mother, it is very hierarchical in nature. It establishes an order. What actually comes through, and Jill explored this for us because it comes to the end of the book, and I think you can really see it in this kind of text, but I think it really makes me want to go and read the whole book, is that what Jill was saying is that comes at the end of the book, is that Fanny's role is to be invented. There is no set text for new family models. So what the book is actually exploring is both mothers, fathers, women's, men's position within new forms of families, and how do we negotiate the dominant or the hegemonic power structures that are entrenched within traditional families, where we actually have to mediate with those dominant norms on a daily basis. And even if our parents are the perfect parents, when people are assumed to be more receptive to non-traditional ideas and actually have a negative reaction to it, how do we mediate that? Because that actually reconfirms that we're outside of the dominant discourse in terms of the structure. But what actually the book highlights is that there are no set norms for Fanny's role, these new roles. And actually it is for her to construct her position as a parent, as a mother, within a non-traditional family. So I'm hoping, and I having not read the full text, the whole book, I can't say, but it really does sound a very empowering opening text that is about a mediation of new social norms. It's not easy. It is not widely accepted, perhaps, even where we expect it to be. But nevertheless, it is empowering in as far as it does highlight that it is a process and it's fluid, and actually highlights to me that identities certainly are in constant mediation, but they're not fixed.